Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda. I'm a neurodivergent woman. I am autistic. I have ADHD. I have aphantasia, which is the inability to experience the senses in my mind. And I have a rare memory disorder called SDAM. So this is like absolutely ironic. This video, I'm going to be talking about the disability tax. And this is my second take because I forgot to start my microphone, forgot to turn it on for the first video. Okay, now I've got to double check. Yeah, okay, it's on. I forgot to turn it on. So about 5 minutes into the first take, I'm like, there's no sound. Didn't turn on my microphone. Okay, so what is the disability tax? It has nothing to do with like paying your taxes. Disability tax is more of a concept. I'm not the first person to talk about it. This is an important subject. We need more voices talking about it. Disabled people need to be more aware of it and kind of reframe some of their frustrations around it. Non-disabled people need to see some of the ableism that occurs around a disability tax, because a disability tax is money paid in our own pockets to raise the quality of our life so that we can be at the same level of quality of life as a non-disabled person, or at least try to bring it up a little bit to be more equitable as someone who is non-disabled. But we're paying for these things out of our own money. They're not like gifted to us. Some of the times, this is also called the ADHD tax, and it is just how we spend more money because of our disability. So that's also another use of this disability tax concept. So I was giving some examples when I realized that I had not turned on my microphone.
An example of how having ADHD causes a lot of wasted time.
So every single disability is going to have their own version of this disability tax. For instance, I have a friend who is deaf, and if you I cannot even believe this, but it's true. She is deaf and could benefit slightly from hearing aids. Now, they're not going to make her hear, but with wearing a hearing aid, it raises the quality of her life because it would allow her particular type of deafness to hear fire alarms, or if someone's coming up behind her, maybe someone knocking really loudly on a door. She's not going to hear conversations, but a hearing aid still gives her some sound, which is better than no sound. Hearing aids are not covered by insurance. She would have to pay for this hearing aid out of her own pocket, and they are like $1,000 or more. My friend who is blind, there are services for blind people, like an app on your phone where you can video call somebody and you can point the video camera at something, like if you're shopping and you want to know the color of the outfit you're looking at because you can feel it and it sounds good. Well, this app is a service and she has to pay for it herself. There's a lot of services that would benefit a blind person that you have to pay for out of pocket. The cost of Ubers could be a luxury item for a lot of people, but for a blind person, being able to use public transportation or Uber is just the only way they can get around. So I had a good example this morning. The fact that I have ADHD and I'm autistic, I went to the grocery store this morning and I'm walking down the aisles of the grocery store. And because I'm autistic, I have a pattern. Like, I walk the grocery store a certain way, done this my entire life, even before I knew I was autistic. And if I get out of my pattern, it can totally mess me up. And today, I don't know what caused my pattern to change, but something got me off my pattern. And when I make a grocery list, I don't always write down the things that I buy every week, because when I walk my pattern, I'll see the item on the shelf and I'll put it in my cart. Got off my pattern for whatever reason today and forgot something that was really important, and I cannot not wait another week. So I came home, put up all the groceries, ate lunch, then I had to go back out to the grocery store for this one item. So that took up more executive functioning points for the day to have to make a second trip to the grocery store, more gas money and more time. So it's like an ADHD tax because I just completely forgot this item, and autism tax by, messing up my pattern, my routine. A more expensive ADHD tax that I had the other couple weeks ago, I had to replace several outfits because when I was doing laundry, I forgot to put the clothes in the dryer, and they stayed in the washing machine for several days, and they got mildewy. I tried to save them because they weren't like actually mildewy, they just smelled really bad. I tried to save them by rubbing them with some like bleach. A couple of times, could not save the load. I had to go ahead and throw away several outfits and buy new clothes. And a lot of times I'm spending more money on detergent because there's so many times where I will leave a load in there and go to check it. And I'm like, oh, how long has this been in here? It's smelling sour. And I have to rerun the load of laundry. And before you suggest alarms are great. I use alarms a lot of times, but the problem is my brain either ignores the alarm because I use so many that it's just like, oh, whatever, or I'll be hyper focused on something. The alarm will go off. I'll hit stop and I'll tell myself every time. Like ADHD people, we lie to ourselves so much. We're like, I'll do that in 10 minutes after I finish this. And then we won't remember. We're not going to remember to do the thing. We can't remember what we're doing when we go from one room to the other. Like our brains just don't work that way. Having to waste time, energy, and effort by re-washing clothes is a common ADHD tax. I posted a short version of this video on TikTok and asked for people to kind of comment down below some of their disability ADHD tax. And one lady said that she needs to use a mobility aid, such as a wheelchair, if she's going to be walking like throughout an entire store. So she always uses one of the scooters that's available at the store. But if the scooter is not charged up or they are all in use, then she literally has to go home and can't shop that day because she can walk enough to get from her car to the store, but she cannot walk long enough to go through the store. That's why they have those scooters, because this is, common for a lot of people. And so she ended up buying her own wheelchair or little scooter because she wanted the independence of not having to rely on the stores. But, it's insurance doesn't pay for that. It's, our own money. As autistic, we wanted to get our son, who's autistic, a service dog. This is a huge benefit to him. Most service dog schools, to get a service dog, costs $20,000 to $40,000. So we're doing owner training, and we hired a trainer to work with us to train our dog. But again, it's still expensive to do that. It's not, $20,000 to $40,000, but it's still expensive to have a service dog, not paid by insurance or, any insurance benefits from that. And here's one that a lot of people don't think about. When you see pre-cut vegetables at the grocery store wrapped up in like individual plastic containers, this is where a lot of ableism comes in. Sometimes people will see that and think, oh my gosh, who's lazy enough to not cut their vegetables? Well, there's a lot of people who only have one hand or have limited dexterity in their hands, or again, ADHD, just at the end of the day, you don't have the executive functioning points to prepare an entire dinner. But if your vegetables are already chopped, you're going to eat healthier than just leaving them out. So it's a luxury maybe for a lot of people to be able to buy pre-cut vegetables at the store. But for the disabled community, it is a lifesaver. It is something that gives us access to having healthier food. There's a lot of times where you will see these as seen on TV products and you'll roll your eyes and you're like, oh my God, who is so lazy that they can't bend over to pull up their socks? Because there's this device that allows you to pull your sock on with one hand. Well, yes, it was actually designed for the disability community. The problem is if companies were to only market it to disabled people, they would not be able to sell enough product. So they market it to the general public, but a lot of times these ads come off as ridiculous, like jar openers where they're like, oh, if you try to open this jar, you're going to spill and blah, blah. And they make it very dramatic when for a disabled person, it is literally the only way they can open the jar. And this product actually improves their quality of life. Oh my gosh, my dog's nails on this floor. Anytime, disabled or not, because we're not excluding disabled people from internalized ableism. Anytime you see a product on a shelf where you are like, that's for somebody who's lazy, you may want to reframe that and say, oh, I bet this actually will help somebody in the disability community. And it might not be somebody you're thinking about. There's a lot of invisible disabilities or disabilities that you're just not aware of how that product might benefit them. But oftentimes, these are things that aren't really invented for the general public. They're just marketed so that way the company can actually make a profit. I hope I brought some light to this really important topic. I'm not saying that there's a solution. I'm not saying that people with disabilities should be handed out money. Oh, wait, hold on. There's one more. There's another one. HelloFresh and those meal services, they help so many people in the disability community. Being able to have pre-portioned out meals that are either ready-made or easy to make are just amazing. Even I did HelloFresh for a while, and having decision fatigue of not having to menu plan, and I'm someone who loves to cook, but just taking that off my plate where it was like easy to pick my menus, and then everything was in a little bag and you just like had to open it and that's what you cooked for dinner. Oh my gosh. Seriously, the amount of stress that took off my plate for the time that I was doing HelloFresh, it was worth it. But again, it's expensive. And they market it that it's more expensive than going to the grocery store. But I'm not quite convinced. I never was able to work out the math on that because math isn't my strongest point, but I didn't feel like I was saving quite as much money as HelloFresh would like to think I was. They like to count on the fact of a lot of food going to waste, which is another ADHD tax. Oh my gosh. I just recently cleared out so many rotten vegetables out of my veggie bin, out of my refrigerator. And I try very, very hard to stay on top of my produce and things like that because I hate being wasteful with food. But it's just beyond my capabilities, especially when like this week was a really rough week. And so all the meals that I had planned to make, I did not have the ability to make them. So some of my vegetables went rotten this week. I hope I was able to bring some light to this very complicated topic. I do not have the answers. I'm not saying that people should be handing out money to the disabled community. I'm just saying this is part of the social model of disability versus the medical model of disability. It kind of all ties in, working together as a society to bring the equity of being human to a more level playing field, and keeping in mind that something like 1 in 4, at least Americans, are going to face disability at some point in their life. Most disabled people aren't born disabled. That's actually a smaller percent of the population. But as you age, you become disabled. People don't call it disabled sometimes. They just say, oh, I got old age, or, but when you're starting to use walkers and canes and your eyesight degenerates, these then put you in the disability category. Sometimes, with injuries from sports or accidents, then you become disabled later in your life. So disability is a important subject for every human to talk about because, good chance that at some point in your life, whether it's a temporary or a permanent, you will be disabled. So It's better to get on the team of, hey, let's all be out in this together. If you are part of the disabled community and you want to contribute in the comments down below about, disability tax, what makes your disability expensive, the medications that are covered, not covered, medical procedures that insurance doesn't always cover. I mean, the list goes on, and it's too long and it's too sad. I will talk to y'all next time.